Hey everyone, it's your friendly Exmuslim here. So I got a meme sent to me on Facebook from a Muslim, you can say friend, I guess. It's actually so corny, but let's take a look. Here's the meme. Religion is simply slavery. I choose not to be a slave. So this is like some caricature of like some, cringy atheist saying religion is simply slavery. I choose not to be a slave. And this guy is, indulging in all sorts of vices, right? I'm going to go and I'm going to debunk this meme. I'm going to discuss it. I'm going to let you know what I think. Let's get into it. All right, it's your friendly ex-Muslim here. So what do we have? We have a meme about a cringy atheist looking, all disheveled and ugly with like rotting teeth or whatever, right? Like, and he's indulging in Pornhub, Netflix, Nintendo Switch. It looks like, I don't know what, like some sort of burger, TikTok, and weed. Well. First of all, to my Muslim friend, do you really think these things are exclusive to atheists? The funny thing too is when I asked the same friend, I was like, you're in your 30s, you're single, do you watch pornography? He's like, I try not to, something. It's like, okay, there you go. Like, first of all, come on, give me a break, right? Like Netflix, Nintendo Switch, like, come on. What is this, TikTok? Like, TikTok is like, has so many Muslims on there, and then weed, obviously alcohol. But like this cringy, first of all, like, straw man of atheism. Atheism has nothing to do with any of this stuff. All it has to do is not believing in a God, right? That's simple. Yeah, we don't follow an organized religion. But what happens when you are atheist? Are you a slave to your desires? Because that was his comeback. Well, my take is that if you're a Muslim, any religion, but let's say Muslim, you've become a slave to Muhammad's desires. You're no longer a slave to your desires. You're a slave to someone else's desires. Your entire worldview has been shifted by what you think is going to achieve Jannah. And to do that, you become Muhammad's slave. Like, literally become his slave. It's blasphemous to say Muhammad's slave because you're supposed to be Allah's slave. But everything you do is to please Muhammad, what Muhammad wanted. So you've gone from having your own desires, you're actually putting aside your desires. In fact, you're doing this for your desire. Your desire is to be religious. Your desire is to be part of the community. Your desire is to get paradise. Your desire is to be reunited with your family members. So you're actually doing all of these things for selfish reasons. In fact, with religion, you could, with Islam, actually call for the murder of someone like an apostate because you think they're taking away from, again, the religion, right? They're putting their own personal life ahead of the religion, and so therefore they deserve to be killed. Like, that's how bad it can get with Islam, right? And so what we have here is this ridiculous meme that's trying to make it sound like, one, there's a difference between Muslims and non-Muslims and all of these things, which the reality is Muslims do all these things, right? All of these things are done by Muslims. So there's no difference. Second of all, the whole following your desires meme, Muslims do follow their desires too, but the desires have been twisted in a way to submit to Muhammad's needs, right? So Muhammad wanted people to constantly be thinking about his deen. And of course, he's the big boss, right? Allah and Muhammad. In the Quran, always says Allah and his messenger, Allah and his messenger. Why? Because Allah by himself can't do anything. It's only with the messenger, right? So the messenger wants this, It's not for any believer to have any say when Allah and his messenger have said something, right? The Quran paraphrase, that's what the Quran says. It's not up to a believer to have any say in the matter, right? The hadith says that you have to love him more than you love your own self, your own children, right? Your wealth. You have to be willing to sacrifice everything. And all of this is so that you get paradise. So your desire is still there. You're still following your desire. But the problem is you've given up your own short-term desire to get your long-term desire, right? And it's sad, right? It's actually sad because it is slavery. It's mental slavery. It's, you're in a bubble. You're in a thought bubble. You can't think outside the bubble. You have to accept that this world was created by this creator, that, he gets angry. He has a face and hands and all of these, like, body parts, unless you take it metaphorically, which is possible too. But like, the reality is this creation of Muhammad, this Allah, which is a mishmash of like ancient, the Judaic God with like paganistic elements, all of these things mashed together to be Allah. And Allah is this created entity that you're supposed to worship, right? It's a man-made creator. And so you submit to this creator, and this is your desire. Now, going back to my friend, he admitted he watches porn. So like, what's the point of this meme? Like, how many single Muslim men watch pornography, right? Probably, I would say, more than non-Muslims. And why do I say that? Because so many Muslim men don't date, right? They have to have a marriage. And so they're stuck being single until the late, until like older. Like, they're not having, unless they're having premarital sex, which is also what cringe atheist apparently does. But like, the whole idea that you can't date is yet another terrible thing about Islam. You don't date. You don't get to learn women. I mean, in my personal situation, this is like one of my major downfalls in my life, is that I got married at 21 and I didn't know what I was doing. This was the first woman I met, basically, that liked me, and I liked her, and we got married, and that was the end of it. And 17, 18 years later, I got divorced. It was a messy marriage, had a lot of problems, but I stuck through it, thinking that I could make it better, but it never got better. And I had no experience with women, and I had no way to filter. I had no way to understand, because I just got married. You're not allowed to date, right? You're allowed to talk to them. But like, the expectation is once you get married, you're not going to get divorced if things don't go well, right? Whereas with dating, you have the opportunity to learn from consecutive failures. You date, you fail. You date, you fail. You date, it works out. Sometimes you get lucky the first time, sometimes you don't. But with the marriage, it's more final. You have the whole family there. You have their family, her family, my family. Everyone's there. You've made a big ceremony out of it. Now you're married, and it's not at all like, it's very final, and it creates this scenario where I think many Muslims are with the wrong partner. Just the fact that you don't even get to see whether you're sexually compatible. There's a subreddit called Dead Bedrooms. There are many, and even Muslim, in some of the Muslim marriage subs, you'll see the same thing, that so many men, and in fact, this is in general, in many subs in general, not just Muslim subs, but like, at least with non-Muslims, or at least people that engage in premarital sex, Muslims and non-Muslims, you have the opportunity to find out whether you are compatible in bed, because that is a thing. Some people are just not compatible in bed. It's just not. Some people are just not good in bed. And so again, your whole life is set up for failure because you are in the system that sucks. It just sucks. The system sucks, right? So not only that, the other thing too is that like, it makes it feel like, atheists have no meaning, whereas atheists do have meaning and purpose in life. We get meaning through other ways, through family, through, like some of the projects that we do. There's other things in life that we can derive meaning from, right? And so this meme is yet again just irrational, ridiculous. It's funny that these things keep coming up over and over again, right? Like the next question that comes up is, well, where do you get your morality from? And this was another question that my friend asked me. He's like, well, you don't have any basis for your morality, right? And I beg to differ. I do have a basis, right? It's just that I don't think that morality needs to be completely stagnant, right? Islamic morality is awful. It's stuck in time in the 7th century. And it shows, right? The things that are in the Quran, 2 women's witness is equal to 1 man's, right? Inheritance laws, right? Divorce laws, like stoning adulterers, right? Like, flogging non-married adulterers, like fornicators. There's so many awful things in Islamic morality, and the chopping off a hand. Like, all of these things are so ridiculous. There's no reform. There's no looking at the root cause. There's no trying to correct people. It's just like punishing people, right? Islamic morality is outdated. Islamic law is barbaric and cruel. It's not at all a good system. Whereas secular morality is based on the rights of others. Consent. There's no idea of consent in Islam. In Islam, slaves do not have consent, like the following clip will show you.
And how does consent play into this at all, or can we understand anything about consent from this end? Like, does the female slave have to consent to that, or is it kind of like because she's owned and so therefore?
In the classical thought, the understanding is that by virtue of the fact that she's owned, she does not have the right to consent. Or to withhold herself from her master. The master has the full right over her, and her consent does not play anything in this relationship. We should understand that in the ancient world, women did not have many rights, and even marriage was not as we might expect it today, like a relationship of equality between spouses. So in the Quran itself, a woman is her husband is referred to as her Baal, which literally means her Lord. The interpreters thought of female slaves as having a secondary status, even below this, and that their consent did not matter in this relationship. They were fully owned, and the master had the right to all of the woman. In essence, generally in classical Islamic thought, it is taken for granted that a Muslim man can have up to 4 wives at once. And in addition to the 4 wives, he can have an unlimited number of concubines, which refer to women who are basically have slave status. When they are owned by her master, a woman owned by her master has to freely give herself to the master. The master has the right to have sexual relations with her as though she were one of his wives. The believers are those who guard their private parts except from their wives and what their right hands possess. But curiously enough, while this is often interpreted to mean that a man could have sexual relations with his female slaves, it is never interpreted to mean that a woman could have sexual relations with her male slaves.
As you can see, Islamic morality is a mess. My morality is based on the rights of others, and it's not perfect. It can never be perfect, just like democracy can never be perfect, right? Secularism is not perfect. It has its flaws, but it's much better than Islamic morality, I'll tell you that, right? And the Enlightenment values, human rights, animal rights, rights of all people, these things, we learned them over time, and that's how we got to where we are today, through this Enlightenment process and realizing that these things are important to us humans. And so what we have now is a far better world than ever existed in the past. We don't let little girls get married, except if you're in Iraq, they're trying to roll back the age of marriage to 9. Well, why do you think that is? Because Islamic morality sucks, right? It doesn't care about the rights of others. It only cares about the rights of men. And that's what you get with Islamic morality. So that's all I have about this meme. If you like this video, do subscribe. I'm going to be doing more such videos. Thanks for watching. This is your friendly ex-Muslim Abdullah Samir signing out. Thank you to my patrons, of course, to your continued support. If you'd like to support the channel, click join now below or click on the link for Patreon. This is your friendly ex-Muslim again, signing out.